think it's all fixed now. If you could put into the chat that you can actually see me. Apparently, I had to update Google Chrome. What a ridiculous way to start off the first Broadway Happy Hour. Updating browsers at this point doesn't already have to have happened. I mean, just do it. Just update browsers. Don't, blame me and make me have to do this kind of stuff. So, I see that we are kind of gathering some stuff. Get into the chat. Let me know that you can actually see me. Let me know that you can actually hear me so I can try and figure this out. I know that is not the best thing. I am actually checking on my phone currently. I see that Ryan Watson says, yo, I think we are good to go. So, we have a lot to talk about. I mean, there's so much that's going on, but it's not about just the Tennessee Titans. It's not about just the Nashville Predators. Do you want to talk about hot dogs toppings? Do you want to talk about soccer? Do you want to talk about shitty movies? I am here for every kind of topic that you want to talk about. I can cover everything that you want to talk about. You just have to put it into the chat. I am seen. I am heard. I feel validated. Thank you, Ryan Watson. It is going to be a little bit of a turbulent kind of thing. I got to put up some, I got to put up some logos here and there. Maybe I need to put up a background. I don't know. You tell me what we need to do. We're at 10 people currently. That's good. Is it the best? No, it's probably not the best, but we're going to get there. What do you guys want to talk about? I am going to start us off on J.J. Watt. And you've heard it. We've talked about it on the podcast. We've talked about it on various articles. We talked about it. You've heard it on the radio. You've heard it everywhere. J.J. Watt was someone you thought, or we thought, that the Tennessee Titans were going to get here in Nashville. They didn't. Big whoop. And it's okay. Look, I am a JJ Watt supporter. I said, hey, let's get JJ Watt. But he is and he was a piece. He is not the piece for the Tennessee Titans. And it's okay. You have to get those kind of guys. Now, we still, to this hour, do not know what his contract terms are. We have various conflicting reports about what the contract terms are, and that's okay. Wait till Spotrac.com or Over the Cap actually puts them out, but that's when you actually know what is the actual money. And I agree. And Kenneth is right on the money. He just cared about the bag. At this point, I mean, why are 31-year-old men lying to you? Why are they trying to say, oh, I care about a championship. I care about my quarterback. I care about where the team that I go to is at currently in the NFL roster. It doesn't matter. I mean, can we all agree that this 31-year-old man has fooled himself into thinking that we're all stupid enough to actually believe what he says? I mean, give me a break. Kenneth is totally right. He only cared about the bag. This man, this J.J. Watt, only cared about the money that he was getting. And then we heard that there were from the Arizona Shock Jock, that he was actually turned down good money. No, he didn't. He actually turned down good teams. That is the difference. Listen, this is, like I said on the podcast, Football and Other F Words, like I said on the radio, Broadway Sports Radio, on Muscle Shoals, Fox Sports. This is not about him turning down the Tennessee Titans, because really, if you were J.J. Watt and you're a Midwestern guy, don't you kind of go to the Cleveland Browns? Put it here in the chat. Let me know what you feel about this J.J. Watt thing. But Give me a break about it being about furthering your career and getting that ring. Because dime store, Deshaun Watson's not going to get you there. Kyler Murray's not going to get you there. And I don't care what you say about, oh, I believe in you, Kyler Murray, because that's the tweet that came out today. It's all about JJ Watt. It's all about the money. It's all about getting as close to LA as possible. Give me a break. Just quit lying to us. And if you really cared about winning a championship, if you really cared about joining that super team, again, Cleveland Browns would probably been the first. I would put Tennessee Titans second. I'd put Green Bay third. But here's the thing. If you're really worried about building a super team, don't you go to a team that's close? I mean, you're going to the fourth place team in the NFC West who is not sniffing, at this point, in my opinion, the NFC Championship or even the NFC playoffs. I mean, you're talking about a team that barely beat or barely could have gotten to the playoffs. Listen, they couldn't even beat John Wofford of the Rams. And this is the team that you join? Week 17, games on the line. All the players know they have to win this game to get into the playoffs. And they couldn't even beat John Wofford. Okay, give me a break. I would love to hear comments in here in the chat. We are gaining some steam, getting some people. We are talking JJ Watt. We are going to talk some free agency. I want to answer your questions, whether it be about certain players that fit our system. How do you pay for these players? How can the Tennessee Titans even afford them? I want to know. But first, you should always check us out at BroadwaySportsMedia.com. BroadwaySportsMedia.com is where you're going to get some comprehensive coverage that you crave. I just put out an article for Free Agency 101 that pretty much just goes through all of the free agency questions, all the definitions that you could ask. We are here. Broadway Sports Media was founded on the fact that we want you to be educated. We want you to be the smartest football fans that you can be. And I feel that is important when it comes down to it. I think it's important to be educated. I think it's important to be able to hold conversations and know what you're talking about. And this is the website to do it. Not only that, you have up and coming writers like Trajan Watkins, who is just putting out article after article filled with information. You have also veterans like Mike Miracles. And someone asked, what kind of drink specials does this happy hour have? I'm actually about to show you what I'm drinking currently. However, you have just so much talent in one place. You have John Glennon, you have Mike Herndon, you have Mr. Lebowski, the next voiceover, and this is not breaking news, this is just speculation. Next voiceover guy for the Tennessee Titans is definitely got to be Mr. Lebowski, right? Definitely got to be Michael Gillum. This is the guy. Join BroadwaySportsMedia.com. Get in there today. Jonathan Boren, who is very perturbed that I said someone, because it's called the tease. It's radio lingo. I am currently drinking Photon Equilibrium Pale Ale. It's made in New York, brewed in New York. But let's get to your questions. Big Mo has a very good question right here. Wouldn't TJ Watt have been helpful or would have helped? But oh well. I don't really know that TJ Watt and JJ Watt are going to want to play for the same team. I know that Derek Watt is also on Pittsburgh, but he's a cap casualty. Here's what I'll say to that. Subway money, that's all that matters. And it doesn't matter if they play for the same team or anything like that. They all about that Subway money. And that's all that matters. Here's what I'm going to say to you guys about the JJ Watt thing. It's good that's over. We have no more JJ Watt watch ahead of us. It's done. And he went to an NFC team. Yes, granted, we do see the Arizona Cardinals and we do play them. this coming season. But after that, we don't see JJ Watt for 4 more years. It's over. It's done. We are done with all of that. After that, we don't see him. So does it really matter that JJ Watt chose the Cardinals? And we'll go to YouTube right here. JJ Watt would have helped the IR. Cardinals fans won't like it when he goes to the IR in 2021. Granted, this could have happened. Granted that JJ Watt may not have seen a full season of the NFL. That's true. But let me say this. For those that think that JJ Watt is under the impression that he is washed, I'm not entirely sure that he's washed. I think that JJ Watt can be a guy that affects everything that you need on the defense. He can affect the pass rush. He can affect the run game. He can affect the quarterback. I mean, that's what you want, right? Not necessarily saying that he could do that at a high level on some of the things, but that's what you want. However, we don't know what he's worth because the contracts haven't even came out yet. Like I said earlier, Spotrac.com and Over the Cap still don't have the contracts. We don't even know. Nobody knows what the contracts are actually worth. I know that people are putting out numbers, but again, there could be voided years. There could be some shenanigans going around this contract. We got to wait. And that's the thing. I know that this is an instant reaction society, but we eventually got to wait and see what the numbers are before we can actually judge the contract. And JJ Watt would have helped. But this is not the JJ Watt that would have changed the entire defense. He is a piece, not the piece. And that is the point that you got to try to get across this offseason is that the Tennessee Titans need the piece or don't need the piece. They need many pieces. And all these pieces actually come across as one cohesive unit. On a scale of Mariota to Blue Steel, how intense was JJ Watt's photo he posed for while squatting? It was intense. It was the end of basically Zoolander to go off Blue Steel, where the shuriken got thrown and basically he stopped it with his mouth. That the pose, that Blue Steel, that's the one that we saw right there. We're going to go in a little bit of Titans talk here in a second because I want to get to this question right here. But let's skip over to, does he stay healthy is the other real question about Juan Delgado. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you have these players that can stay healthy all throughout their whole career, and you have players that just get injured every time. Does JJ Watt stay healthy enough to live up to his contract? I would be, if I was a betting man, I would say no. Not over at the Arizona Cardinals, where he's probably going to have to play a lot of snaps and be on the field a lot of the time. But if I'm the Arizona Cardinals, it is what it is. I mean, you paid for it, you bought broken goods is what it is. It's, to me, him staying healthy with that contract, not going to help. We have over here, same Veslov, I guess is what you call it. Veslov? I don't know. I'd rather give Clowney $8 million guaranteed for 2021 and player bonus for another $7 million if he gets 20 sacks. I kind of like this contract idea, but and to be honest, $8 million guaranteed means an $8 million cap hit in this scenario. That's not bad for Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, it really isn't. I know that there are many people out there that says there's no way the Titans should bring back Jadeveon Clowney. There's no way. And they won't do it. That's what people out there say. I've seen tweets last night. I've seen tweets this morning. Jadeveon Clowney can come back to this Tennessee Titans team, and I think it's something that we all need to reconcile with themselves. But it has to be cheap. Is $8 million guaranteed for 2021 cheap enough? Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I know that Spotrac has the market value as $6 million, but let's be honest, it is Jadeveon Clowney. If you could get $8 million guaranteed for 2021 for Jadeveon Clowney, you got to take it because he's someone that can help in the run defense. He's someone that can help take some pressure off Jeffrey Simmons. We saw that Jeffrey Simmons was not the same player without Jadeveon Clowney on the field. Hopefully he is this year. But you saw that. I mean, you got to be realistic. You can't just pivot yourself into this corner of saying, no, yes, no, yes. There's a lot of possibilities. And I think Jadeveon Clowney come back on this team is a possibility. Would I bet money on it? Probably not. But if someone told me that he would come back for 8 or 6 million guaranteed, yeah, I'd bet some good money on it. But that I don't think it's realistic because players want to get the most out of their value. And I understand that he made $15 million last year. And according to Veslov, that's fine. Last year's in the past, and last year accumulated in another injury, a subpar year. And I just don't think that Jadeveon Clowney is going to get anywhere close to 15 million. I think he's going to, let me say this. His cap hit will be in the single digits, and cap hit is what matters in 2021. That is what matters. And that's why we will transition into talking about the Tennessee Titans. Kenneth here says that Ben Jones or Malcolm Butler is cut next week. Let me say this. If you are on the train that Ben Jones is not going to be on this team in 2021 and 2022 and 2023, whatever, until he retires, Ben Jones is on this team. He will not get cut by the Tennessee Titans unless he somehow lucks into some incentive that nobody's ever heard of where he gets paid $20 million. Ben Jones is on this team. There is not a center. There is nobody on this roster that can do what Ben Jones does on the Tennessee Titans. And they're not going to want to go into this draft and try to fill that position. Spare me Aaron Brewer, spare me all the other people. They're already going to have to get rid of that shitty-ass loser right tackle that they have in Isaiah Wilson. Ben Jones is here to stay. Now, whether you like Ben Jones or not, and I don't know Kenneth's actual feelings on the talent level of Ben Jones. Ben Jones is a top 5 center in this league. Ben Jones is good. There's no reason to get rid of Ben Jones. And we saw what the Titans offensive line was able to do when healthy, when they have most of their players back on that offensive line. You don't want to bring in another center, whether it's a rookie, whether it's a free agent. Just don't do it. Malcolm Butler, a little different. I do, personal opinion, Malcolm Butler is about 70% going to be on the roster, 30% not on the roster. And here's why. Because I think Malcolm Butler is the easiest person to try to restructure a deal to make it onto the 2021 Titans roster. Is it perfect? No. But Malcolm Butler is easily the best player on defense, in my opinion, on 2020. I just don't get it. Like, I understand that people are still, and I'm not saying that Kenneth is, but I understand that there are people still holding on to that first 8-10 weeks of the NFL season where he wasn't that great. Malcolm Butler is very good. Malcolm Butler that we are seeing is the Malcolm Butler that we saw when we first initially paid him. There is no reason to get rid of Malcolm Butler other than money. And I think that Tennessee Titans, I think John Robinson will get that worked out. I agree right here with Ryan Watson. He won't stand for the Ben Jones hate. And I agree. Why is there... And I think it stems from Jared Stillman and him suddenly saying that he could be a guy that is that Ben Jones could be a guy that could be cut. Who are you going to replace him with? That's the thing. The Tennessee Titans are not at a point where they can create unnecessary holes in the roster. And that's what you got to look at. And Buck Reising today, who did his first midday show, I guess if you call it midday, from 10 to 1, did his first show on 104.5, and he put out there today that Corey Davis, more than likely, they're working towards an extension. I think both sides want to get done. We've heard stuff from Justin Mello over at BroadwaySportsMedia.com. We've heard stuff from Duran, and now we've heard stuff from Buck. Where there's smoke, there's fire. There's 3 different fires in 3 different areas of Nashville, one in Canada, I guess you could say. And they all say that Corey Davis is going to be a Tennessee Titan pretty much. I mean, like, they all expect a deal to get done. All sides want Corey Davis to get done. That's what they want. So if you got him and you hope to tag Jonnu Smith, then don't create unnecessary holes on the offensive line. Don't create unnecessary hoes either. But don't create unnecessary holes on the offensive line when you don't need to. And getting rid of Ben Jones makes 0 sense. You can always restructure him. You can always do stuff where you give him, maybe convert some of his bonus to convert some of his base salary to signing bonus, or you can just do an extension. This is not something that you need to do. You do not need to do anything with Ben Jones. Ben Jones, at this point in his career, is either going to retire a Titan. That's about it. I mean, that's all there is. I think he's one of those guys that just retires a Titan. Sam Livingston asks, what is the tag number for Jonnu? That depends on who you ask, and that also depends on the salary cap, but I can give you a range. You can either do $8 million is what I've heard, or all the way up to $8.7 million in a transition tag. And what that means is transition tag basically is you tag Jonnu, and he can go out and see a bunch of different deals from other teams. And if he likes one of the deals, he can ask the Tennessee Titans to match it, right? And if the Titans don't match it, they don't get any draft picks on a transition tag. He goes and they get no compensation. More than likely, that's what's going to happen, in my opinion. I think that Jonnu stays, and I think that Jonnu, he doesn't play on the tag. He accepts the tag, and they work out a long-term deal. We saw it with Derrick Henry last year. I think that's the one that's going to happen this year. It's going to be Jonnu Smith. It makes the most sense, especially because of what was said on Buck Reising show today on 104.5 The Zone about them working out an extension with Corey Davis. I mean, to me, that's where you go. I think Jayon Brown, you might as well just kiss Jayon Brown goodbye, unless he goes to the open market, sees that he doesn't get anything that he wants, and he just kind of comes back reluctantly. I think that you're going to see Jayon and Corey back. I think you're going to see Jonnu and Corey back, and you're not going to see Jayon back. That's what I feel is going to happen. Now, I would love to hear and love to see what you all feel is going to happen. Put it out in the comments. I put you guys up here. We talk, and that's the whole point. I want to also know, what kind of hot dog toppings do you like? I am a celery, salt, mustard, chopped onions guy. And now, to me, it's perfect. I love the saltiness of the celery salt. I also love the depth of flavor from it. But mixed with the yellow mustard and those onions, it's just so good. And granted, if I'm limited 3 toppings, those are 3 I'm going to choose. You got the peppers, the pickles, you got everything else you could want from a Chicago dog. Chicago dogs rule. Chicago dogs are the best hot dogs in the world, no doubt. We are going to go to Sam Livingston's question. You think they draft a receiver early, even if slash when they re-sign Corey? I think it depends. I think that wide receiver is the one position in the NFL draft that you can get someone at 22 that is a day one impact player. I don't, unless Kwity Paye or Azeez Ojulari drops down in number 22, wide receivers where the Tennessee Titans should go. Granted, there are some defensive backs, some cornerbacks that could be the same as a wide receiver value. I think there's J.C. Horn. You got Farley, Surtain, Samuel. There's a couple of them there. That's where I feel that the Tennessee Titans go. Even if they sign Corey Davis, it's going to be hard to find a slot wide receiver to replace Adam Humphrey at 22. Could that happen at round 2 or round 3? Sure. Kadarius Toney is the guy to fill that void of Adam Humphrey, Cam Batson, Khalif Raymond. Those guys, he takes the best of all of them, and it's in his game. Kadarius Toney, if Corey Davis is re-signed, is the guy that I would personally zero in on if I was a Titans fan, and if I was John Robinson and all them. I think Kadarius Toney is that guy. Are there other slot wide receivers that you could get later? Yes. I think there is other slot wide receivers that get later and that could maybe do what he's doing. But Kadarius Toney is the guy in that situation. Now, if we don't sign Corey Davis, it really depends on who they do sign. Do they sign the slot wide receiver? Do they sign the outside kind of wide receiver in free agency? That matters because we're talking about Bateman from Minnesota. That is the guy that you get to replace Corey Davis. That is the guy. He is essentially Allen Robinson, Corey Davis. He's the best of both of them. That is who you draft. So it really just depends on what they do in free agency. And to me, I think they do draft a wide receiver early unless they do something totally out of the normal and just sign 2 free agent wide receivers, one of them being Corey and a free agent or just 2 random free agents. Let me tell you someone that should be on your radar, Nelson Aguilar. I know that's going to be a guy that's going to throw up some whoa. Are you really talking about Nelson Aguilar? Because I know about his history. But as soon as he got away from Carson Wentz, who's over at the Indianapolis Colts now, he blew up and he ranked top 15 in a lot of categories for wide receivers: yards per reception, yards after the catch per reception. We're talking about touchdowns. And he had less drops than DK Metcalf. Let me just throw that out there. I'm not saying that he's DK Metcalf or anything, but keep Nelson Aguilar on your radar. He only got paid he got paid less than $1.1 million last year. Keep him on your radar. And I see that Nelson Aguilar talk has actually dropped us down a little bit. So let me get to some questions. Big Mo, who I'm so glad is back on Twitter. And he says, I like jalapeno mustard, diced onion, and green chili. And really, to be honest with him, I can't disagree with that. That sounds like a delicious hot dog. I like, with my hot dogs, a little bit of spice, a little bit of salt. I like it all. And that sounds delicious right there. We go to Juan Delgado. I think we need to consider trading Evans and keep Jayon Brown and start Long in Evans' place. Juan Delgado, you are a saint, and I agree with you. That's exactly what should happen if we do not bring in, I don't know, Kyle Van Noy or something else. They literally need to trade. They need to take Rashaan Evans Isaiah Wilson, package him up and ship him out. Listen, if they can get rid of Shane Bowen, Anthony Midget, and Jim Haslett while we're at it, let's get him out of here. Like, let's go all 5. Let's shoot for the sun. But I am with you. These people who are out on Twitter who say that inside linebacker was not a problem with the Tennessee Titans defense, I question whether they watched Tennessee Titans defense, because every level had its problems, and Rashaan Evans is one of those problems. So I am with you. Rashaan Evans probably needs to be traded. I mean, at this point, we're going to go down to, again, Titans fan. Do we sign Romeo Aquara if they can't get Lawson? I think that's possible. I like Romeo and I like Lawson. You know, they're both considerably cheaper than most of the edge class that is coming into free agency. Here's the thing. This free agency edge class is not done with its names, with this honor roll or this list. There are going to be tons and tons of players that you're going to see over the next week that are added to free agency in every position. And in my opinion, I mean, you're looking at Lawson Okwara, perfect. And they're going to be in a position where I think they're going to be relatively cheap, whether it's a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal or 3-year deal that's relatively cheap. I know that the Bengals are being tossed around as tagging Carl Lawson. I don't know. I mean, if they can't get Lawson, Okara is probably the guy. But let me say this. You may be able to do better than Little Romeo when free agency actually opens up. All the way until March 17th, this is going to be a wild NFL offseason. I thought nothing would top last year's NFL offseason, but then COVID happened, lower salary cap happened, and all these veteran deals that are easy to get out of are now getting out of. You got to roll with it. You just got to do it. And I think you're going to see a couple surprises. We already saw Kyle Rudolph, Kyle Van Noy. We've already saw these surprises that have already hit the free agency market. And exactly what you guys are asking, it's going to be a lot of, do we sign this person or do we sign this person? Who do we sign? Which one? If this one's not available, who do we sign? We'll see. That's all I can really say. But I think that both these players, Romeo and Lawson, are both definitely on the table for the Tennessee Titans. Going back to Big Mo, bro, my wife likes ketchup on a hot dog and a cringe. Listen, I mean, when did ketchup on hot dogs become this big thing where it's a no-no? Now, should it be the only thing on your hot dog? No. But when did ketchup become this, boo condiment? When did ketchup get canceled? I've noticed this over the last couple of days on this same Twitter topic. Someone actually tweeted out to us, roast me, ketchup, ketchup, ketchup. Well, that's a little excessive, but one thing, ketchup on a hot dog, I don't understand it. I mean, it feels very American to me, like very United States, red, white, and blue, bald eagle swooping down with a bottle of ketchup just to spread it on my hot dog while I crack open a Budweiser. Like, I don't understand when ketchup became this anti hot dog condiment. So props to your wife. Listen, whatever you put on your hot dog, if you enjoy it, that's really what matters. And don't judge other people that put stuff on their hot dogs. I mean, we need to get to be a society where either what we see someone do to their hot dog is what we maybe want to try, open up our mind, or B, just let them eat their hot dog how they want to. We're a pro hot dog society. If going back to Big Mo, if Evans was traded and Titans lose Jalen, Van Noy should be considering David Long given a shot. Fully agree. A Van Noy, David Long ticket on the inside linebackers is 10 times better than what you get out of Evans and Jayon. I am sorry. I love Jayon. Jayon Brown has been on our podcast. He came to our live show. He loves puzzles, but he's getting dragged down by Rashawn. Rashawn Evans is the problem. There's no doubt about it. Listen, I would love to have a Jayon Brown, David Long inside linebacker tandem than anything else that you can give me. If you can offer me those two guys as your starting inside linebackers, I am good. That's where you have to go. That's where you need to look. Rashawn Evans is the problem. We're going back to Juan Delgado. Hot dog should be bacon wrapped with runny mashed pinto beans, pico de gallo, mayo, and ketchup. It's a lot to unpack right there, a lot I want to talk about. But you know what I'm going to do? Next time I cook a hot dog at home, I'm literally going to try this. I'm going to do the mashed pinto beans. I got them up there in my cabinet just because I always use pinto beans in my chili. Pico de gallo, I can make mayo and ketchup. I'm going to do it. Here's the thing about Juan Delgado hits about Van Noy, and this is what we're going to end on. We're going to talk about a little bit about leadership in the Tennessee Titans locker room. They liked it. And Kyle Van Noy could definitely add that leadership. And I think it's important for John Robinson, for Mike Vrabel, for the Tennessee Titans, that they add players that bring leadership, that bring talent to their positions. John Robinson and Mike Vrabel got a little bit full of themselves, for lack of a better phrase, in bringing in Vic Beasley, in bringing in Isaiah Wilson, in all the way dating back to maybe even bringing in Kevin Dodd. But this past offseason, they got a little bit full of themselves. Hey, I am a guy who was on record saying that if anybody can get anything out of Vic Beasley, it's Mike Vrabel. And John Robinson wouldn't sign Vic Beasley if he didn't think that. And that's fine. Listen, I was wrong on that. In a way. Because obviously John Robinson did think that. But obviously Vic Beasley is a little bit of a head case. And, here's the thing. They tried. They were aggressive in free agency. They tried to fix the pass rush. In hindsight, and some could argue in current sight, I don't know if that's the correct way, that they did it poorly. Yeah, I think so. I think that Tennessee Titans failed miserably this offseason. And they have a ways to go. They wasted a year, one of three. I think they're in a 3-year window, and they wasted year one for a Super Bowl. So we've seen that they want to spend money on defense because we saw that they were in the hunt for J.J. Watt. We know, based on last year and the way they spent the money, that they at least see the pass rushing edge as a problem. The issue is, and the issue that I have, is that John Robinson, I am not entirely sure that he sees the problem in his evaluation process and his assessment with free agents and with draft picks to fix it. I think he knows he has to fix it. I think he wants to fix it, but I'm not entirely sure right now that he can fix it. And I think that's fair to say. Now, this does not mean that I want John Robinson fired. This does not mean that Mike Vrabel should be fired. This just means that if they can achieve 11-5 with a I was going to say mediocre, with a piss poor pass rush, bottom rung pass rush. Just think what they could do if they could do it with a mediocre pass rush. That's what I'm saying. I think Mike Vrabel's the guy. I think Jordan Robinson's the guy. They just have a few growing pains and few lessons to learn till they're way up there. I mean, give me a break with this Tennessee Titans team won their division. They made the playoffs. Second year in a row. You can't ask for more than that. Sure. Yeah, you can. You can ask for the Super Bowl. That's what I expected. Did they meet my expectations? No. But that's okay. They just got to get to that point where they actually recognize their faults and their limitations. They overcome them. They ask players to do it. They have to do it. That's where my hesitation lies with this front office, where this coaching staff, can they recognize where they fall short, where obviously everybody else in America that follows the Titans can see. Like we all see. Everybody sees pass rush is the problem. Fix it properly. Can Van Noy do that? Like JJ Watt, he's a piece. This is going to take 2 free agents, 1 draft pick to fix the pass rush. In my opinion, just purely the edge position. They still got to fix and look at other parts of their defense. You have other things to do. We got to stop assuming that one player is going to fix this team. There is not one player that is going to fix this defense. There's not one player, if Corey Davis and Johnny Smith both leave, that is going to overcome both of them. There's not. Matthew Judon, no. If you only sign him, you are looking at the worst of Jadeveon Clowney and the worst of Vic Beasley all rolled into one and a wasted money down the toilet. And I think John Robinson knows that. I think you're going to see a multiple prong attack to fix this defense and to make sure that we stay contenders because they know. I have been asked thoughts on birds, and this is very important that you all listen to me about this bird stuff. Robert Greenlaw, you can follow him at Rob on Broadway, has brought to my attention that birds are basically essentially robots and surveillance system to make sure that the public sort of stays in line. They're not really doing their job. They're kind of bad about it. But just make sure that when you see a bird start glitching out, that you alert at Rob on Broadway to make sure that he knows so he can put it down in his journal and send it in to the anti-bird coalition. Is it fair to say they did something outside of their philosophy and it backfired by going after mercenaries? And how much of this falls all of the D coordinator? Well, the Tennessee Titans still don't have a defensive coordinator. I will say this till my grave. Shane Bowen is not a defensive coordinator. He's not the Tennessee Titans defensive coordinator. He doesn't exist. Shoot him into the sun with Isaiah Wilson. He's nothing. If you have to load this defense up with top tier players to make it work, then what good is your defensive coordinator? And if you look at Todd Bowles, a bunch of those defensive players for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over with Todd Bowles, rookies, 2 years. I understand that they do have some other veterans, but he gets the job done with whatever he's been given. He's done that his whole career. Shane Bowen is going into year 6, and you're trying to convince me that Shane Bowen is anything other than a positional coach? No, thank you. You can even look at his press conferences last year. He got us all hyped up Oh, Harold Landry, we got to get him less snaps, and he's going to get more pressures because he's getting less snaps. That dude played like almost 100% of snaps. I mean, give me a break. Like, I am so out on Shane Bowen as much as I am out on Isaiah Wilson. I don't want to do any more conversations about him. I know I will have to at some point, but my God, I'm so sick of both of them. And I think it's fair to say that John Robinson did something that is out of the norm and it backfired, but he's going to have to be out of the norm again and spend more money. I mean, he's just going to have to. You're at a position in a Super Bowl window, you have to do what you have to do. That is it. I cannot believe that I talked for 45 minutes straight. I don't know why some of you guys stood on and stayed with me to talk 45 minutes straight to listen to me talk. I hope I got to everybody's questions. I will pop up again, maybe with some guests next time. You need to go to BroadwaySportsMedia.com, get a membership today. You need to follow Broadway TN on Twitter to make sure that you don't miss out on any of these live video shows, because we do ones for Speedway Soccer. We have ones about pop culture that can pop up. You never know when one of these is going to pop up. So set your alerts on for Broadway TN. As I end this show, follow me on at FWordsPod. Please rank Bowen, Wilson, Midget, Hazlitt. I would rank them from bad to worse. Because there is no good. Bad, Anthony Midget. Very bad, Jim Hazlitt. Awful, Shane Bowen. And the worst person ever, Isaiah Wilson. That would be how I would rank those four people. This has been Broadway Happy Hour. I am drinking this Photon beer, and this beer is for you guys. I am out.